Hi everyone, it's Donna again, and I just wanted to go through some very basic major scale theory. Okay, it's very, very simple. There are patterns to music, and the major scale is what we all know is do, re, mi. Okay, I don't know anybody who doesn't know that. Well, doesn't mean there aren't people who don't, but I don't know of any. So if you know do, re, mi, you know the major scale. And so the major scale has a pattern to it, and I'm going to just tap it out for you, and you should memorize it, okay? In the pattern, I'm just going to tap it out for you first, and I'm going to say two words, whole and half. Okay, here's the pattern to the major scale. Watch my hand. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. All right? That's the pattern to every major scale, no matter where it starts on the do, re, mi scale. All right? Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And so what you should also understand is this, that every single fret represents a half of a step. And that means that every 2 frets represents a whole step. All right? Always. Always. So drill that in. Okay? So from here to here is a half a step. From here to here is a whole step. Because it's, on the first case, half a step is 1 fret. On the second case, the distance between the first sound and the second sound was 2 frets. That's a whole step. So I'm going to show you a visual, and I have my guitar stand right next to me here so that I can show this to you. And I hope and I pray it doesn't come out inverted when I post this to YouTube. I hope and I pray. Help me pray. And I'm going to just break this down first of all to the do, re, mi scale. Okay? This is backwards to me. All right, so I'm going to be looking at it with you. All right, so you will see here that I've written out do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And that's 8 words. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. 8 words, okay? The first and the last words are the same, but they're in a different place. Okay, the distance between the first do and the last do, which brings us back to do, if you don't know that song, is called an octave because there's 8, I just counted them out for you, 8 steps, all right? Okay, so, all right, so we're talking about the distance between do and re is a whole step. The distance between. Do itself is not a whole step, it's 1 note. All right, so the distance between do and re is a whole step. The distance between re and mi is a whole step. And then the distance between mi and fa is a half step. The distance between fa and so is a whole step. Between so and la is a whole step. Remember, 2 frets is a whole step. The distance between la and ti is a whole step. And the distance between ti and back to do is 1/2 step. Okay, so if you know do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, 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 that's an octave, okay? And in between is this pattern, which is the space between the notes. In this case, we're calling them do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. That is the major scale, okay? And the major scale can start on, for example, can start on mi, all right? Not here, okay? Because you'll have to make some adjustments because you always want to follow this pattern of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. I'll explain more about that later. But right now, as far as do, re, mi goes, which will start on middle C on a keyboard, which is the first white key before 2 black keys together, okay? Middle C is that middle part of a keyboard the first white key between two black keys that sit together, and then there's kind of a space where there's two white keys with no black key in between them. Well, I'll talk about that later. But so, okay, so here's your pattern. Memorize it, okay? It's always going to be the same no matter what major scale you're playing. You can play the F major scale or the G major scale or the E flat major scale or the B flat major scale. It doesn't matter. It's always going to be that pattern. Okay, always. And remember, these are these taps represent the space between two notes. So let me go now to here. Let's just talk about the scale of C, the C scale. And I'm doing that just because that's typically where, you know, we think of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay, and on the C scale in particular, okay, there are what we call the natural half steps. Natural half steps are those places on a piano keyboard where there's no black key in between two white notes. That's a natural half step. Sorry, I don't have like technical visuals. I don't know how to do that. So, you know, I'm like bare bones here. I'm just like, I have no overhead. I'll keep it that way because these lessons are free, and that's the way I want to keep it too. Okay, so let's talk about the C major scale, all right? So between C and D is a whole step. Between D and E is a whole step. Between E and F is a natural half step. It's one fret, okay? On a piano keyboard, there's no black key between E and F. Between F and G is a whole step. Between G and A is a whole step. Between A and B is a whole step. And between B and C is also a natural half step, which on a piano keyboard, again, there's no black key in between those two white notes. This would be a white note on B, and C will also be a white note. All these other ones where there's a whole step, there's a black key in between. And the black key will be a halfway point between a whole step, okay, the halfway point. We'll talk more about that later. Now, let's talk about how we can use numbers to talk about the same exact thing, all right? Sorry, I'm going to just do this now so that's not visually confusing because, sorry, I don't have a nice whiteboard. I wish I did. Anyway, so in addition to talking about do, re, mi, and in addition to talking about C major scale, for example, we can talk about numbers, okay? In terms of the first note of any major scale, second note of any major scale, third note, and so on and so on and so on. Same pattern. Whole, half. Whole, half, whole, half. Same pattern, okay. Can you tell I used to be a teacher? But I had a whiteboard. All right, so here we are. All right, hope this doesn't come out backwards for you. But so the distance between 1 and 2 is a whole step. The distance between 2 and 3 is a whole step, which is 2 frets. Remember, whole step is 2 frets. The distance between 3 and 4 is a half step. The distance between 4 and 5, whole step. Between 5 and 6, whole step. Between 6 and 7, whole step. Between 7 and 8, half step. Again, on a piano keyboard, you know, I can call 1 C, I can call 1 do. I can call 8 C, and I can call 8 do. The distance, again, between all of those is called an octave. Okay? So I'll stop right there, and then I'm going to translate all this for you onto the guitar. Okay, thanks.